Merry Christmas, guys. So today I want to know who is the best hero in this game for pure inspiration. When I say that, I mean who gives the biggest boost through their inspiration. There is more to it in an inspiration hero. You know, what other utility do they bring? What is their cost? Where do you deploy them? Things like that. But in terms of just pure boosting, pure inspiration, who gives more, Rivenhald or Daochan? So I've set up a test here that I'm going to run you guys through. I haven't done it yet. I've just set it up. So we're going to do it together. I'm going to fill out this sheet over here. It should be pretty interesting. It's going to be in Nightmare 4. I'm going to run this on auto with the exact same gear for all of these units over and over and over. We'll do 3 runs with Rivenhald as the inspiration unit and 3 runs with Daochan. I will take the average damage dealt for each DPS over each group of runs. So we have the Rivenhald tests and then the Daochan tests, as well as the average blood, and we'll see who comes out on top. To me, this is as clean a test as we could do. Daochan and Rivenhald are going to be wearing identical gear, and both sets are built around just maxing out the attack. I'm not concerning myself with things like attack speed and rage regen. Yes, that might move the needle a little bit, but I wanted everything as steady as possible. So what I'm going to do here on the Fastidious test server is go in and run a very simple run. We have our inspiration unit and then 5 DPS. The only other unit besides these 6, the inspiration unit and the 5 DPS that will touch the battlefield, is Torador. He's just gonna go down and come right back up just to fulfill the nightmare boosts from his Lord skill. If you don't know what I mean, when you have 4 or more faction team members from the Nightmare Council on the battlefield, they're gonna get an attack speed boost of 35%. So I want to make sure that's fulfilled. Also, when it comes to buffing and things like that, I only have 1 unit that is going to be wearing a Wings of Grace or Invigoration set. That obviously will be Rivenhald and then Daochan for their respective tests. However, I don't want to sway things by letting one DPS get buffed and not another, so I will place our inspiration unit first, so they're not placing the increased attack buff on anyone. That is basically it. That is the setup. I'll show you the initial building of each run, and then I'll show you the end of the first run for the result. And that's basically it. Then I'll do the second and third run very quickly off camera. Maybe, I'm trying to think if it's worth including and speeding up. Just trust me, I promise I won't fudge anything. I promise. But I'll do the second and third run off camera and just fill it in. And then we'll go to Daochan, I'll show you that setup again, and we'll compare. Let me remove the inspiration unit now so you can see the battle power, 683,086. I'll show you this both times just to prove that I'm not changing the gear on anyone. The only thing that will change is the gear moving from Rivenhald to Daochan. So the last thing to cover before we begin the testing is what is the gear that Rivenhald is currently wearing and that Daochan will be wearing, because I'm just going to directly swap it from one to another. You can see here, it does have some attack speed, so he's not like getting screwed, but I simply went through my test server and I took the Wings of Grace pieces for the right side that have attack bonus as a main stat, and then the highest flat attack substat. I ignored all the other substats, anything else is just incidental. So that is going to be the bangle, this will be the amulet, this will be the ring. You'll see this is the weapon. For the weapon, I just picked the weapon on my account. That was Warlord and had the highest attack bonus roll. And then for the breastplate, I took the Warlord breastplate with the highest attack bonus roll that also had a decent flat attack roll. So this was the highest attack bonus roll, and it's a very respectable attack bonus in the purple, right? 437. You'll see when we start the Daochan testing, I'll directly swap this over. The final thing to talk about are their awakenings and their artifacts. So you can see I do have an A5 Rivenhald that I used in other tests. Here we are using A0. No awakenings at all. This is the Rivenhald we're using. As for the artifact, I'm using a Helm of Helios. That's going to be his best in slot. It's maxed out, but I have not augmented it at all. I do have some Helm of Helioses or Helms of Helios that have very nice augmentation, but there'd be no way to make the augmentation even between his artifact and Daochan's, so I opted to go with nothing, and I built a clean one up from scratch. So this is going to be our Rivenhald build. I'll show it to you right now. Here are his total stats, just over 18,000 attack. Everything looking very nice. Finally, I'll quickly show you with Daochan. I'll show you the build after when we do the swap, but for her awakenings and for her artifact, we do need her A1 because we need the expanded range. I think that's just essential. No one should be running Daochan. Well, you should run her if you have her and you don't have her A1, but everyone should have her A1 because the first unpolished soulstone you get on your account should be saved for Daochan because it's just the best use of a soulstone in the game. But she's A1 because that's kind of a prerequisite. And then for her artifact, she's in her exclusive. That's her best in slot. But again, I went for no augmentation. I have very nicely augmented pieces over here, but I didn't want to mess anything up. I wanted it to be even. So we'll take that gear and put it on this A1 Daochan afterwards. But for now, let's begin the testing, kicking it off with Rivenhald test number 1. For our DPS, we've got Kagiri, Hex, Sun Wukong, Ryzen, and Silas. All these guys, their awakenings are what they are. They're A5. Doesn't matter, but what I will say is they're all in very, very, very similar gear. They all have a bangle and an amulet with attack bonus main stat, and then crit damage, crit rate, attack speed, and then a random 4th substat that doesn't help DPS. So heal effect or flat HP or defense bonus or HP bonus, all of them have that. I can show you one other unit if you don't believe me, but trust me, that is true. And then for the ring, for all of them, it's crit damage main stat with attack bonus, crit rate, attack speed in the substats, and then one random non-DPS assisting substat. So it's gonna be heal effect or HP bonus or HP or defense or whatever. On the left side, they all have crit rate, attack bonus, attack speed as the 3 main substats on the weapon, and then some random non-DPS 4th stat, and then they all have attack bonus, crit rate, crit damage on the breastplate with some random non-DPS 4th substat. I'll show you one more just to prove it. Oh, and they all have their best in slot artifact as well. Let's go to Sun Wukong just to show you it's similar. So attack bonus with 3 substats on the bangle, same thing on the amulet, then crit damage as the main stat with 3 substats on the ring. We've got attack bonus, crit rate, attack speed, and a random substat that isn't helpful on the weapon, and then attack bonus, crit rate, crit damage, and a random unhelpful substat on the breastplate. I really think this is going to be as clean a test as we can do. So I hope you guys appreciate it. Let's hop in. I'll show you the setup. And after that, I'm just going to be ripping through these. And of course, we need a healer. So I've got Ireless here. It is an A0 Ireless. She's fully skilled up. She's in Broken Set on the right. And then she has got some Light's Grace on the left. Just good enough to be able to heal. Very important, she is not A3. So there won't be these kind of RNG huge damage increases. That's why I'm running her at A0. And yeah, that rounds out our team comp. So if I remove the Inspiration Hero now, this is going to be our reference BP, 762,143. Finally, let's begin the test and let's see. So I'm just going to show you the setup. Like I said, we don't have to sit through 6 total tests right now. Rivenhald is going to go right here. You can see he has this huge range. Then I'm going to quickly place Torador and pick him up just so I can get that done with. Now we're going to place Ireless here, and we just start placing all of our units, right? And that is basically that. So I'm going to let this run on full auto, and then we'll check in at the end. I'll let you guys see this whole run. I'll just speed it up to like 6x speed or whatever. And then the other 2 runs, like I said, I'll do off camera. I'll probably just include like the final damage screen just for reference and to show that we did it. But yeah, we're gonna have no problem here. We really just wanna see how it changes. Variability between runs, we're gonna neutralize for that or control for that by having the averages of the 3 runs, and then we're just gonna directly compare Rivenhald to Daochan. See you soon. All right, here we go, guys. This is the end of the run. You can see this team obviously has no issues with anything. This is going to be our initial baseline. Then we're going to do 2 more tests just like this. I'll show you how I'm going to fill in the sheet if you're for some reason curious. Otherwise, you can just skip ahead. But basically, I'm just going to take the numbers and put them in. So you can see our blood here is 105,240. I'm going to take that. This is our Rivenhald run number 1, so 105240. And now I just put in the DPS for each unit. We're gonna do this in millions, just so it's simpler to input. You can see Sun Wukong came in at 279.465 million. I'll round up each time to the nearest 10th of a million. So we're gonna call this 279.5 million. And then I'll just follow that for everyone. So 279.5 million. Let's go to Hex. I tried to guess the order, but you can see Ryzen is just incredible for this content. Hex is coming in at 208.2. Now, just ahead of him is going to be Ryzen. Oh, sorry, that was Sun Wukong, and I put in Kagiri. I actually guessed wrong on a lot of these things. So Sun Wukong is going to go here. Now, Ryzen is going to come in next at 209.9. Now, there's no way Silas beat Kagiri. So Kagiri is going to come in at 180 on the dot, 0.0. There we go. Let's get all this sorted now already. Perfect. Now for Silas, he's got 130.4. 130.4. All right, I'm gonna rinse and repeat this for everything, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, coming up on the end of run 2 now, you can see very, very similar, but there's some variance. That's why I'm doing multiple runs and taking the mean, right? We're just gonna take the average. So that's gonna be 106,262. These are going to be our damage numbers. And there you go, I've updated the sheet. I'm not gonna be this pedantic each time breaking it down for you, but I just wanted to show you there is a decent amount of variance. The actual blood is fairly consistent from when I've done tests like this in the past, but you know, they're not counting the damage that's dealt to the shield. So certain units that dealt more damage to the shield last time might have done less this time, so their numbers seem inflated because they dealt more damage outside of the shields, where you have the inverse for other units. So Kagiri had a pretty significant jump, Hex had a nice jump, Wukong had a little fall, Ryzen had a fall, and then Silas was the most consistent. On to run 3. All right, and finally coming up on the end of run 3 with Rivenhald. This is going to be our last test, then we'll get our averages. Went up even a little bit more this time, so we had 107,160 blood. These are going to be our DPS numbers. And there you have it. I've updated the sheet, so these are the numbers that DIAOCHAN is up against in her tests. We're seeing an average blood of 106.2k or so. Let's see what happens in our DIAOCHAN tests. So I will just show you that initial setup like I said I would for this first run, and then we'll knock out the second and third really, really quickly. I'll edit it to be short. You can see there's the same reference number when we remove Rivenhald, just about 762,000. Now we're gonna find that A1 DIAOCHAN. Here she is, just to confirm. A1, she's got the unaugmented or non-augmented exclusive that's maxed out. We're simply gonna take Rivenhald's gear wherever he's hiding. Is this him? Let's just double check the stats. That looks like wrong. That looks like the A5, so I'm glad I double checked. This is gonna be the right one. Remember, because I had the really high breastplate roll. Let's take that one. Let's throw it over. That is going to be our DIAOCHAN build now, and we're good to go. This will be what the setup looks like for the next 3 tests. Let me head into the playtest mode. All right, let's get this going. Placements obviously will be a little bit different because DIAOCHAN is a platformer, but that won't change anything with our results. So let's place her there, put Torador down, quickly pick him up. We're gonna put Ireless here to make sure she can fit everyone in. Switch DIAOCHAN to damage mode. We're gonna put our marksman down, Silas, X, and Ryzen. Then we've got our Sun Wukong. I'll put him in the same spot that he was in before. And we're gonna put Kagiri right here, and we should be good to go. That will be the run. I'm gonna throw this on full auto now. We're gonna do this 3 times. I'll see you guys at the end of each run. Let's go. All right, coming up on the end of the run now. And it looks like DIAOCHAN might be taking this, but either way, we're not gonna have a clean, oh my God, freaking, is that real? She just switched to white mode. Well, it was only for a moment. All right, so I decided, I thought about keeping that run in where she switched to white mode, but just for consistency's sake, I'm redoing this first run. I'll take over each time for these Daochan runs at the 45-second mark or so, 45 seconds, to make sure she doesn't switch to white, and I'll just do everything manually. What I was starting to say before is I was hoping there'd be like a runaway winner, and clearly there isn't, right? It's very, very, very neck and neck. So we'll see what manifests over the next few runs, but it looks like this is going to be a very, very close call, and there might not be a clear winner. I will say, there you go, that blood, it is the highest number I think we've seen so far, so 107,724. We pull up our data now. Yeah, that does edge out run 3, so 107,724. Give me 1 second to update all these numbers. Here is going to be the damage from that run, and there you go. You can see everything is in a pretty similar range to what we were seeing here before. Let me do the next 2 runs, and then we're gonna compare and contrast. All right, just finished run 2, and you can see we went back down to 106K, which right now the average for Daochan would be better, but it's so comparable. Like, it's so tight, it's crazy. I'll put in all these numbers right now, the blood as well as the damage. One moment. All right, here you have it, the results of Daochan run 2. This was actually our second lowest run. The lowest was Ryzen run 1, then this one, then Ryzen run 2. So right now it's really close. The averages are just about, actually they're exactly 713 blood apart, which to me feels like a rounding error. I don't think we're gonna have some big knockout winner. I mean, obviously at this point, I think we know we're not gonna. Let me do run 3 and we'll wrap this up. All right, starting run 3. I was putting off doing this because I didn't want to figure it out, but I realized some people were probably yelling at me in the comments. I did turn on the individual autocast settings, so now I can just let it run. I've turned off Daochan, I've turned on everyone else. I'm putting on autocast. See you at the end of the run. All right, we are just finishing run 3 for Daochan now, and the individual settings for the autocast definitely works. She never switched over, so that is great to know. And you can see really similar once again. That was our biggest number. We broke 108K. So you'll see with the average, Daochan is gonna get the slight edge, but again, it is really, really close. With each average for individual DPS and then total blood, I'll do the percentage increases so you can see how much we improved going from Riven to Diao, but it's not gonna be that much. So that run was 108,280. Here are the damage stats. And here you go. There are our final numbers. So Daochan beats Rivenhald on blood output, averaging over each one of the 3 runs for both sets of tests. She's beating him by 1,161. So it's definitely not nothing, but it's definitely not as much as we had hoped. I'll do all the calculations now and show you, but it's gonna come out to like a 1% difference. Okay, so let's take a look. You can see individually, Kagiri had a much better time with Diao, which actually makes me think these tests aren't even conclusive that Diao necessarily is better. We might have just randomly all 3 times happened to get superior Kagiri RNG. I think in a future test, I'm not going to use him because you never know exactly when he's going to trigger on auto an Ember Strike versus a sweeping strike. When the Ember Strike comes, his damage is going to be a lot better. So there's a ton of variance there. Everyone else was insanely close. So that's why I wanted to check everyone individually. So Kagiri is the only real outlier here with a huge difference. Let me calculate all the differences now. If you want to know how I'm going to do that, I'm simply going to take the Diao average, subtract the Riven average, and then I will put that over the Riven average. That will give us our growth going from Diao to Rivenhald. And already I can show you, if we do something like this, Kagiri had a change of basically 6.9%. Actually, we can just do this right now. But everyone else, it's just right within something really, really, really reasonable. So this probably came down mostly to Kagiri. I think if we want really definitive results, we can lean on the individual changes to everyone else. And you can see that they're basically neck and neck, right? Maybe in the future, I would have to do like 10 runs to find something really reliable and remove Kagiri. I think this is reliable enough that we can learn a lot from it. And I also think maybe 10 runs isn't realistic. Maybe if I had more time, I could have done like 5. But you can see Kagiri had nearly a 7% increase going from Diao to Riven, which doesn't really make sense. at all. It's not like we ran Leia as a Watcher Lord or something, right? We were running with Torador. So he must have just had superior RNG nearly every time. Let's see, what was his best run with Rivenhald? There was the run 2 is really good, and frankly, just that run 1 was really bad. Only this run 2 for Daochan with Kagiri was worse than the run 2 for Kagiri with Rivenhald. The other two were both better, so I think that's kind of what it comes down to. Everyone else very close. Sun Wukong actually did 0.6% worse with the Daochan runs. Hex did almost 2% worse. Ryzen did just over 4% better. Silas did a little over 3% worse. The key thing though, right, if we look at the blood, it's a 1.1% change. So I think these guys are going to be pretty interchangeable for this kind of content. There's definitely going to be other content where Diao is definitively better. If you're using a Watcher comp or an Infernal comp, that's going to be huge. Also in things like Arena, she is dirt cheap at just 6 cost. That is a lot cheaper than Rivenhald, who's 18. That will be a big difference. And then on the other side of that coin, there's a lot of content I think Rivenhald will be better at because he's a perfect replacement for her in content where cost doesn't matter, like bosses, or if you're using Northerners, or if you want him as a Lord already. Those are great double dips. And then he brings a lot more support than Daochan if you're not mode flipping with her. And if you're using her as an inspiration, you probably aren't, right? So he's going to give those great shields. He is going to give the HP increase. He actually does pretty decent healing. It's not special at all, but he's a good, solid supplemental healer. So the conclusion is, in general, it's kind of a wash. Sorry, it's not more exciting than that. And without a doubt, there's going to be content where Daochan is the top choice, and then there's going to be other content where Rivenhald is the top choice. So there you have it, a long, nerdy video for a little bit of a boring conclusion, but at least we figured it out. Thank you so much for watching. I won't include this at the beginning, but I just want to say at the end, I thought this video would take me like 40 minutes to put together in terms of filming and doing this sheet. It took me over 2.5 hours on Christmas Day. So if you appreciated it and you made it to the end of the video, consider dropping a comment, a like, subscribing to the channel, whatever. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother. Goodbye.
Fastidious.